I think as an artist, his true quality is that he's able to bring together all kinds of influences that he's had during his career and fuse them into his own vision. And although when you look at these paintings and drawings, they're very simplified, some of them I think were probably done really quite quickly. They are also very complicated in terms of their impact, and they have an instantaneous feeling about them, but they're pictures that you can return to again and again and get more from. We don't exhaust them at first glance, not at all. You can live with these works of art, I think, and be nourished by them. Although Jankel Adler was born in Poland, he actually spent a huge amount of time in Germany. That's where he learnt how to be an artist during the First World War, so it was a very, very difficult time for him. But he managed to learn, and in the post-First World War world, he became great friends with some of the outstanding artists in Germany at that time, like Otto Dix, and I suppose most notably of all, he became a mate with Paul Klee, who had taught at the Bauhaus. And by that time, and I'm talking now about 1930, round about then, Jankel Adler had himself become one of the leading names of modern art. By the early 1930s, the Nazis had become powerful. They'd pretty much taken over, and one of their great hates was modern art, which they denounced. Not only that, they got hold of the artwork that people like Adler had made, and they destroyed it, or they put it on view in degenerate art exhibitions. So Jankel Adler thought quite rightly that he had to flee Germany. So by the mid-1930s he was gone, and he was travelling around in quite a restless way in different countries across Europe, including going back to Poland, his native country. But it was a very restless, very difficult time. He'd left a lot of friends behind in Germany. He was worried about what was happening to his friends. He was worried about his own career. His marriage was at an end. And so we then find that with the advent of the Second World War, that Adler joins the army. He joins the Polish army and gets sent to France, where he gets mixed up with the British army. And in the great sort of exit from Dunkirk, that's what happens to Adler. He becomes part of that. And to his astonishment, no doubt, he finds himself in Scotland, where he becomes ill. He has heart trouble, and it was his heart actually which eventually killed him. And in Scotland, he leaves the army and, not feeling at all well, starts to become an artist again in surroundings that he simply does not know at all. I mean, this is a long, long way from Poland, isn't it? And I think if you look at the work that Adler produced once he'd come to, well, first Scotland, and then he moved down to London and settled in the south of England, you realise quite how much of what he'd been through as a person in the decades before is reflected in these paintings and these drawings, because although they show people in interiors on the whole, sometimes on their own, sometimes with animals like cats, sometimes just still life balanced on a table, at the same time you realise that all these pictures are freighted with emotion. There's a tremendous sense of melancholy. There's a feeling of loneliness. Sometimes almost you feel that the figures are ghosts who've floated in from somewhere unknown. Perhaps people that Adler used to know but have now left him or even died. And I think the word really to sum up the feeling of his work at this time is the word haunting, because you sense that he was himself a haunted man. He was haunted by his past, but also I think haunted by his present, because we are, after all, talking about Britain at war, and that he didn't know whether Hitler and the Nazis would be successful invading this country which Adler was now inhabiting. So there is a sense of fear here, an incredible feeling of vulnerability, which I think is actually very, very moving, and one of the reasons why I think he deserves to be far better known here. And I hope that this exhibition will open everyone's eyes and make us realise that we need to know much more about this fascinating individual.